Now, I know I've done a couple of videos talking about, along with a whole string and series of tweets about Justin Fields and the Chicago Bears and why he should absolutely be given every reason to win the starting job coming out of training camp and why he should be the day one starter for the Chicago Bears. And the arguments are so strong, you have one or two opinions you can have on this. You can align with me or you can be wrong. Because it's just nonsensical. And I think part of that is there's just this overwhelming evidence, to me at least, when you think about the different contexts, the varying factors, that if you're drafting a quarterback in round one, and especially drafting them high in round one, you're doing that typically because you already know you don't have the answer at that position. You're looking at the long term. You're trying to find that guy that you can build around for the next 10, 12, 15, maybe 18, 20 damn years. So as a result, they should absolutely be given the chance to start early, the chance to start day one. And there are a couple of reasons for that. Number one, you spent a high pick on them. That means that you feel like they can be the guy. The whole notion of, well, it's best to sit and learn and watch. No. With the changing the college game and the type of offenses that are now run in college that ultimately have been largely mimicked by the NFL, that's just really dumb, dated logic, frankly. Not to mention the fact, the whole notion of, well, you learn more by sitting and watching and studying. No, the fuck you don't. You don't say that in the real world, so why is it any different with the NFL? The best way to learn is to play, period. And then when you talk about the whole notion of sit versus start versus sit, take a look at what happened with the quarterbacks, the three that were taken in the top 6 picks in the 2020 draft. Joe Burrow was a day one starter. Yes, he went down with the really bad leg injury that some of you are going to use as this crutch to say, well, that's why he shouldn't have started, because the offensive line in Cincinnati could still suck 3 years from now. You can't sit on the kid for 3 years because the offensive line sucks. That's stupid. But the Bengals, at least as an organization, can feel like in the games that Burrow played, that they saw enough to believe that he can be the answer long term. So they could feel good about the quarterback position and now go build around said quarterback position. You look at the Chargers. Part of the reason Anthony Lynn deserved to be fired was he looked at his two quarterbacks and he thought that Tyrod Taylor was the better prepared to start day one. A totally stupid, asinine, idiotic logic. And when Tyrod Taylor had that unfortunate incident happen with the medical team before the start of that second game against the Chiefs and Herbert stepped in, it was obvious Herbert's the better option, the much better option. And he needs to play the rest of the year. And now you look at the Chargers and you say, Justin Herbert was Offensive Rookie of the Year. He had 15 whatever starts. He was phenomenal. He set rookie records for touchdown passes. The Chargers have no doubts that life after Phillip Rivers is going to be pretty good. It may even be better. They know that Herbert's that dude. So the teams that drafted first and sixth started their guys early, Burrow day one, Herbert after one game, and they know. Meanwhile, you look at the Miami Dolphins who picked fifth, who not only idiotically passed on Herbert for Tua, which was dumb in and of itself, but they sat Tua, and you could maybe make some type of medical argument with the hip injury, etc. But at the end of the day, not only did they sit him for 6 games and then bring him in, they're like, you start, you sit, you start, you sit, you play, you sit, you play, you sit, you play, you sit. And now you look at the Miami Dolphins, and you can talk about all the other pieces they've accumulated. You can talk about you like what they do, but at the end of the day, if Tua's not that damn dude, they look like idiots, and everybody in that organization should be fired, period. Because they drafted the wrong guy, they mismanaged him, all of that. The bottom line of what I'm getting at is they don't know, and they really don't have any inclination of knowing truly one way or the other. And even if Dolphins fans want to sit there and say, we know Tua's going to be the guy. No, you fucking don't. You want him to believe, you may believe in it, but you have nothing factual to actually point to. If anything, you have more factual things to suggest he might not be the guy. But you could also say that's rookie growing pains and adjustments to the NFL, etc. It's not time to put a pin in Tua by any stretch of the imagination, but the point I'm getting at is is by Miami not starting him right away, they've left themselves long-term questions, which then meant in the 2021 draft where they could have sat at pick 3 and taken Trey Lance, or sat there and maybe even traded back a little bit and been able to take somebody like a Justin Fields and Mac Jones. They passed on all 3 of those guys. If any of those 3 guys are better than Tua, everybody in that organization should be fired. Herbert's already better than Tua. That's bad enough in and of itself. You get what I'm saying here? Not to mention, when you're talking about these young quarterbacks, they're on rookie contracts. You want to take advantage of that and maximize it, and you don't maximize it by having them sit on the fucking bench. So that way you can play some mediocre, average, fringe NFL starter, so you can pathetically hope to win 8 or 9 games in a 17-game season. That's ridiculous. Now, if you have a situation, let's say like the Atlanta Falcons, and they have Matt Ryan, and let's say they drafted a Trey Lance, or they drafted a Justin Fields or a Mac Jones, yes, those guys need to sit, because then you can make the argument that it is unquestionable that Matt Ryan gives the Atlanta Falcons the best chance to win as a team in 2021, and while it's not necessarily the best in terms of getting experience, you can at least sit there and say, based off of the situation, that makes sense. You do still have to do something that gives your team the best possible chance to win. But when you look at a lot of these other quarterback situations, there's not a Matt Ryan already manning the helm. And you take these young quarterbacks high in the first round because you feel like they have next generation type of talent. You feel like they could be the one to elevate you. That's why you take them high. That's why you make the big moves up the board to go fucking get them. And you do that also because you know you don't have the guy. So if you're going to do that, then you start them day one, period. No excuses, no bullshit. And I look at the 49ers with Trey Lance, and you're going to hear all of this. Well, they've got Jimmy G, and Jimmy G's coming back from injury. When the fuck is he coming back from injury? And you might as well take it easy. Trey Lance doesn't have a ton of experience. He didn't play much in 2020 at North Dakota State. He's only going off of one season. At the end of the day, bullshit to all of that. You've seen enough of Garoppolo to know he's average at best. He doesn't have that level of talent. You're never going to win a Super Bowl with him taking on any type of important role as your starting quarterback. Because if you were, as the 49ers, you would have done it against the Chiefs a couple years back. When you needed him to step up and make a play or two in the fourth quarter when things were starting to get away from you, he couldn't get it done. And not to mention the fact you talk about Jimmy Glass, and that was the one season he actually managed to stay relatively healthy. Any other time it's an injury here. It's always some type of bullshit. The bottom line is you know that Jimmy G is not that dude. And what are you going to do? You're going to sit there and try to pathetically win 9 or 10 games this year with him at the helm? No. If anything, the Trey Lance situation indicates to me it's a perfect time to start him from day one because you feel like you have a quarterback whisperer in Kyle Shanahan, so you have an offensive mind that is going to put his young quarterback in situations to succeed, who all the while is going to look and say, this kid can physically do things that other guys that I've worked with in the past, the Matt Ryans, the Kirk Cousins, the Garoppolos, just can't do. And then when you look at the team and the structure of that team, and if you're the 49ers, you assume even with Saleh going, leaving the organization to go be the head coach of the New York Jets, that their defense is still going to be really damn good. What a perfect situation to bring a young quarterback into. If anything, it takes some of the pressure off of him because when he does make some of the maybe inevitable rookie mistakes, you can sit there and say that defense can pick him up. That defense can help out. That defense could help you still win games. So I dispute this notion strongly that Jimmy G is a significantly better option for them to win more games in 2021. Furthermore, I say, what are you trying to do? Win more games with a quarterback that you know damn good and well is out the door? Or are you trying to figure out what the fuck you got in a guy that you gave up a shit ton to go get? It's not like you have just a third overall pick invested in a guy like Trey Lance. You have 2 future first-round picks invested in him as well. You have to play him right away. And if he struggles a little bit, but he shows some flashes and he utilizes his athleticism and arm strength, then that's what you fucking do. He can be a Josh Allen type of talent, then you've got to play him and let him work through some of that shit. Imagine if the Bills drafting Josh Allen out of Wyoming said, hey, you know what, we're going to sit Josh Allen for 2 years. They'd have been going into the 2020 season with absolutely no fucking clue of what they got at the position. You got to play him early. You got to let him figure it out. Because at some point in time, no matter what, whether they're in year 1 or they're in year 11, they're going to face adversity. And part of the deal of them potentially being the franchise guy is that they can overcome adversity. And if they can't, 'tis better to find out earlier than later. You sit there and sit Trey Lance for an entire season. What have you accomplished? What? Because you can make the argument, are you sure that you would even necessarily win more games with Jimmy G as the starter? Like you look at last year with the 49ers, was Jimmy G really that much better than some of the other guys that stepped in the play? I mean, really, truly, honestly, when you look at how the team played with those different guys at the starting quarterback position. No. If you're Shanahan and you're general manager John Lynch, this is about the long term. You've been there 4 years now. You should feel at least a little bit of stability and security in your job. Like you're trying to figure out if you can run that division for the next decade. You're not going to do that with Jimmy G as your starter. You can. You may not, but you can. That's the point. You can with Trey Lance. Because you're talking about a division where he's more talented physically than a Kyler Murray. And if you're the 49ers, you might feel like your infrastructure, your organization is better than the Cardinals, and I would not disagree with that. You would say, okay, you look at the Seahawks, they've got Russell Wilson, but Russell Wilson's on the wrong side of 30. Matthew Stafford in Los Angeles for the Rams is on the wrong side of 30. And the way that their team is built, they're built more on the defensive side. And you look at the Seahawks and you say they got a couple of weapons on offense, but they can certainly be had. Like you want to be in that position now with the 21, 22-year-old kid to find out that you could have that dude. So that way you're saying for the next 15 years, the division, the NFC West, comes through San Fran. You're not going to do that with Jimmy G. And if you're saying, well, it's easy to say, no, it is easy to say because it's absolutely the right call. There is no definitive argument you can make. And some of you clowns, especially 49er fans that can't get over Jimmy G, are going to sit there and talk about his one-loss record. Yeah, but how much does he really impact that? Rex Grossman was 13-3 or whatever the hell he was as a starter in 2006 for the Bears, and he absolutely fucking sucked. One-loss record alone for a quarterback should not be a reflection of their skills or their abilities or their potential or superstar capability. No, the 49ers have one decision to make here. You invested a ton already in Trey Lance. Are you willing to do what is right, which is to play him week 1, even if he is a little ill-prepared, even if he is not 100% ready, and allow him to play and see if he can figure it out, see if he can piece it together, see if you can do things to kind of help him along, see if you will get that tremendous physical talent to come into the fold. Like, I'm sorry, but you make that type of big move up the board, you got to think that this dude not only is your franchise quarterback of the future, but you probably thought that he was the best quarterback in this draft. And if that's the case, then you better fucking play him week 1. Enough with the Jimmy Garbage Pail stuff. You've been there, you've done that. That didn't work. The Trey Lance shit can work. But no better time to start finding that out than ASAP, as soon as possible. Sitting him on the bench for a half a season or most of a full season his rookie year is just a waste of fucking time. It's a waste of that rookie scale contract. It is a waste of everything. Start Trey Lance day 1.